It's May of 2021 and hyperinflation is here. This article explains that this is a result of supply and demand. That's not true, of course. Hyperinflation is part of the plan to create a worldwide communist state where nobody has private property. So it was planned a long time ago, and it will get a lot worse pretty soon. And as I suggested in the past, the smartest thing to do right now is to trade your savings for things with actual value, such as food and clothes, before it becomes completely worthless. Now let's continue to what I wanted to talk about in this video. Lately it seems that a tech event called Cyber Polygon is getting a lot of attention. The reason for this sudden interest is the déjà vu it gives some of us to an event from October 19, an event called Event 201. Event 201, that was hosted by the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, simulated a disease that spreads rapidly around the world and ends after 18 months with 65 million deaths. This conference predicted the behavior of tech giants, mainstream media channels, governments, and other parameters throughout the course of 2020. Now we are a little bit smarter, and we have the opportunity to learn exactly what is coming to us in the next few months. Here's what I found. Cyber Polygon is an annual event that took place for the first time in 2019. It is said to teach about the dangers in the cyberspace, and the purpose of creating international collaboration is stated, with the noble cause of protecting people and organizations from security threats, no matter where the criminal is hiding. The Cyber Polygon event provides training that is meant to improve reaction time to scenarios such as distributed denial of service attack, where a server is flooded with requests that make it collapse, web application attack, where a user gains access they shouldn't have, and ransomware attack, where an attacker blocks access to files from the person who owns them. IBM provided the structure for the exercise, and a 3.5-hour video is available summarizing the entire event, and take it from me, you would probably find this video too boring to watch even if you did cybersecurity for a living.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cyber Polygon 2019. My name is Alexander, and for the next 3.5 hours, I will be your moderator for the first ever live international cybersecurity training.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm happy to welcome everybody here in headquarters of Sberbank in Moscow, in main security operations center of Sberbank, at Cyber Polygon event, and announce its opening. Joining us today are Bruno Halapo, head of Cyber Resilience Center for Cybersecurity World Economic Forum. Thank you, Bruno. You are with us today, and I know that you will help us with summarizing the results, our session, and discuss the outcomes of this event.
MTS provides various digital services to its clients, including big data, financial and banking services, Internet of Things, OTT, cloud computing, system integration, and e-commerce.
The last thing I want to mention about Cyber Polygon 2019 is the humble list of partners. The biggest name here is IBM. Sberbank is the biggest bank in Russia. But besides that, you probably didn't hear of the rest of the companies. And this web page doesn't even work. Take a look at what happens 1 year later in Cyber Polygon 2020. That was back when some countries got out of their first lockdown. Now we got ICANN, that's the organization that controls the internet pretty much. News channels are involved. Ernst & Young, one of the big four accounting companies with hundreds of thousands of employees worldwide, joined the party. There are so many banks and companies involved now. Something is going on. This time, the World Economic Forum took over the event. Both the Russian Prime Minister and the founder of the World Economic Forum had speeches.
It's such a privilege to address you all at a time when we so much rely on digital infrastructure and, of course, its underpinning cybersecurity.
They had talks about complete digitalization of every aspect of our lives. This is what some people refer to as the fourth industrial revolution. One interview that I found interesting is about making people cooperate with authorities. It is mentioned that there are two approaches, trust and fear. In other words, people can be either manipulated or threatened to follow instructions.
Will we be able to build trust and join forces against cybercrime after the crisis is over? Or will we need another crisis to unite us once again?
They will require cooperation, and those will require trust. And so I think it's really important that the trust, starts first with the awareness, information sharing, direct contacts, and then over time we can actually have a cooperation that's emerging from trust there.
Here they talk about fighting fake news. You should already know that my videos and channels with similar content are classified in this way. They were already prepared for growth in demand for this sort of content for a long time. This speak about a cyber crisis was given by a partner in Ernst & Young, and I want to talk a bit about the significance of that. Ernst & Young is an accounting firm that is part of a group that is called the Big Four accounting firms. The Big Four used to be the Big Five until 2001. Arthur Andersen, the fifth wheel of the group, was involved in the Enron Scandal, where the energy corporation Enron committed fraud for billions of dollars. I'm not going to elaborate on Enron and Arthur Andersen, but I wanted to mention that the Big Four's main business is accounting and auditing, or at least it used to be. As you can see here, Ernst & Young are really interested in cybersecurity all of a sudden. Another Big Four company leaning towards that direction is PricewaterhouseCoopers, who was a partner in the ID 2020 project that aimed to provide every person in the world with digital identity. They actually kick-started that project, and now they are not mentioned anywhere in the official website. So why did PwC and the project part ways? That's a story for another time. For now, we saw that 2 out of the biggest 4 multinational auditing companies are involved in huge cybersecurity projects. That leaves us with Deloitte and KPMG, and honestly I will be shocked if they stayed behind in this field. But at least at this point, I don't know about them having an equivalent project to those their competition have. This transition in business is important for understanding where the big money is nowadays. The last thing I want to point out about the Cyber Polygon 2020 agenda is that we see that the World Economic Forum is collaborating with an intelligence agency, the British Interpol. So you can imagine how serious this event is. That's it for the agenda. The exercise this time was about prevention of a digital pandemic. What is a digital pandemic, you may ask? They mentioned something about companies' databases being hacked, and there were a lot of banks involved. Should we assume that it is about accounts being emptied by alleged hackers? That seems to me like the most likely scenario. But before we come up with wild theories, let's see what we can learn from the next Cyber Polygon event that is planned for July of 2021. Here is a quote from the training description page. An attack on a single company can jeopardize the entire ecosystem. What they describe here is an awful design of a system. In computer terms, it is called high coupling. What it means is that a problem in one part of a system will cause problems elsewhere. Imagine that you turn on your television and your fridge stops working. This is pretty much what they described here. And if this is the kind of systems your country uses, then those who chose it should be under investigation, because there is no way that this is an honest mistake. In the exercise, they will have one team defending from attacks and one team identifying the attackers using phishing techniques. So I guess they will need a scapegoat. My money is on the Russians. And there you have it, right in your face. Just like Event 201 predicted a viral disease that will force governments to lock citizens in their homes and censor alternative news channels 2 months before it happened, Cyber Polygon predicts a cyber attack that will shut down banks and entire countries. The media will report that hackers attacked suppliers' networks, no hospitals, no food supply, and no electricity. What can you do to prepare for it? Take all of your savings out of your bank account, buy food and necessities that will last for at least a couple of months, get the knowledge and tools to care for yourself when the shutdown takes place, produce your own electricity if you can, and make sure that you are completely independent.